Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to Haunted Montreal's Spooky Story Sessions. I'm your host, Holly Rhiannon, and today I am going to tell you all about the St. Bridget's Refuge site. With over 500 documented ghost stories, Montreal is easily the most haunted city in Canada, if not all of North America. Here at Haunted Montreal, we are dedicated to researching these paranormal tales, and our channel brings you new videos in both French and English every second Saturday. Today we examine a new campus built on the haunted site of an old Irish Famine asylum at St. Patrick's Basilica. But before we get into today's story, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you get notified every time we have a new tale to share. And hey, if you're already subscribed, a big thank you. Welcome back. It's great to see you again. Now, without further ado, let's get spooky. The Université de Montréal opened a new campus for its business school, Haute Études Commerciales, or HEC, in September 2023, located next to St. Patrick's Basilica. The location has a poignant history, as it once housed St. Bridget's Home and Night Refuge, an Irish famine asylum that provided shelter for the destitute, the homeless, and many isolated women. Over the years, the asylum bore witness to numerous tragedies, giving rise to tales of lingering spirits. There's already speculation that the modern campus may be haunted by these ghosts of the Irish famine. The Irish Famine of the 1840s stands as one of the darkest chapters in Montreal's history. In 1847, over 75,000 Irish refugees, many of them afflicted with typhus, arrived at the city's overcrowded wharfs. At the time, Montreal was home to just 50,000 people, making the influx quite overwhelming. The refugees were fleeing not just the Great Famine, but also the brutalities of British colonial rule. While Ireland starved, British authorities continued to export food, and Anglo-Irish landlords evicted countless farmers from lands seized through colonization. Desperation drove many to board overcrowded coffin ships where disease spread rapidly. Thousands died at sea, at the Grosse-Île Quarantine Station, or later in Montreal. Those who perished in the city were buried in mass graves near the Lachine Canal and in Point St. Charles, the latter marked today by the Black Rock Monument. Among the survivors, over 600 orphans were left behind alongside countless widows and fragmented families. John Francis Maguire described the plight of these children in his 1868 book, The Irish in America. Quoted, "This deplorable havoc of human life left hundreds of orphans dependent on the compassion of the public, and nobly was the unconscious appeal of the multitude of destitute little ones responded to by the French Canadians. Half-naked, squalid, covered with vermin generated by hunger, fever, and the foulness of the ship's hold, perhaps with the germs of the plague lurking in their vitiated blood, these helpless innocents of every age, from the infant taken from the bosom of its dead mother to the child that could barely tell the name of its parents, were gathered under the fostering protection of the church." Montrealers, including officials from St. Patrick's Church, which had just opened in 1847, rushed to assist the refugees, joined by religious orders such as the Grey Nuns. Many of the orphans were adopted into French-speaking households, but the crisis revealed a dire need for additional care, especially for those left behind. Initially, the Grey Nuns provided refuge for the sick in a house on the St. Gabriel farm and later in a building on Saint Laurent Boulevard. However, limited resources forced these temporary shelters to close. The constant displacement revealed a need for a permanent refuge and orphanage, a solution that would take time to realize. In 1848, a remarkable Irish priest named Father Patrick Dowd arrived in Montreal to take charge of St. Patrick's Church and address the challenges facing the city's Irish famine refugees. Born in Dunleer, Ireland in 1813, Father Dowd studied for the priesthood in Newry before being ordained in 1837 at the Séminaire de Saint-Sulpice in Paris. He joined the Sulpician Order in 1848, the same year that he answered a call to serve in Montreal. Montreal's Catholics worshipped exclusively in French at the time, but the influx of Irish immigrants during the famine created an urgent need for English-speaking clergy. In 1846, Father Joseph Vincent Quiblier, the Sulpician superior of the Petit Séminaire de Montreal, traveled to Ireland to recruit priests. When Father Dowd agreed to join the mission, the Irish Archbishop reluctantly gave his blessing, telling Father Quiblier, "You are asking for my own heart." Arriving in June 1848, Father Dowd quickly became the cornerstone of Montreal's Irish Catholic community. Known as the unofficial bishop of the city's Irish, he was both revered and feared as a pastor. His blunt manner and occasional vindictiveness were offset by his charisma, intelligence, tireless energy, and unwavering dedication to his parishioners. Father Dowd immediately began addressing the dire needs of the Irish refugees. Many orphans, widows, and vulnerable individuals were left struggling after the Great Famine. The Grey Nuns, who had been providing temporary care, were overwhelmed by the demand and lacked resources and a permanent facility. In response, Father Dowd launched a fundraising campaign, and within 3 years opened St. Patrick's Orphanage in 1851. The 4-story building located northwest of St. Patrick's Church on Dorchester Street, now René Lévesque Boulevard, became a vital sanctuary for children left parentless by the famine and its aftermath. Recognizing the ongoing health and social challenges faced by survivors, Father Dowd also purchased a burial plot in Notre-Dame-des-Neiges Cemetery. Many orphaned children who survived typhus had weakened immune systems, while mental struggles were common among those who had lost loved ones. Destitution and homelessness compounded these issues, with some refugees turning to begging or prostitution to survive. Not stopping at the orphanage, Father Dowd also began planning for a permanent refuge. After years of relentless funding, he commissioned renowned architect Victor Bourgeot to design the building. The refuge would serve as a haven for elderly men and women, a protective shelter for young girls, and a temporary lodging for homeless families. It also aimed to help place vulnerable girls into safe homes. Through his determination and selflessness, Father Dowd left a lasting legacy for Montreal's Irish community, establishing institutions that provided hope and support during a time of profound hardship. In 1865, St. Bridget's Home and Night Refuge opened to provide shelter and care for some of Montreal's most vulnerable residents. Many of those who came to the refuge were Irish famine survivors, still struggling with the losses that they had endured. The refuge was a busy sanctuary, offering basic necessities, including free breakfast for those who spent the night. Over its first 20 years, the refuge served more than 200,000 people, many of whom lived difficult lives shaped by poverty and illness. Residents often succumbed to old age, typhus, cholera, smallpox, and even heartbreak. Those who died were buried in the cemetery plot Father Patrick Dowd had arranged on Mount Royal, ensuring they were laid to rest with dignity. However, a significant challenge arose in 1883 with the passage of the Quebec Anatomy Act. This law required all hospitals, orphanages, prisons, poorhouses, and government-funded charities to surrender unclaimed bodies to the municipal anatomy inspector within 24 hours of death. The act was intended to put an end to the rampant body snatching that had been plaguing the province, providing medical schools with a legal source of cadavers. Institutions that failed to comply faced substantial fines. For Father Dowd, the Anatomy Act was deeply troubling. The Catholic Church considered dissection a desecration of the human body, and he was particularly distressed by the thought of orphans, many of whom had no surviving family, being subjected to this fate. Despite his objections, the government forced St. Bridget's Home to comply with the law. The act achieved its intended effect, as grave robbing in Quebec effectively ceased. By March 1884, the Canada Medical and Surgical Journal reported, "The requirements of the medical schools have been amply met." But Father Dowd remained uncomfortable with the law's implications, particularly for the most vulnerable in his care. Rumors suggest that he may have secretly arranged for some of his parishioners to be buried in the Mount Royal Cemetery plot, altering records to protect them from the Anatomy Act's reach. As the years passed, Father Dowd's health began to decline. Once a commanding presence in the pulpit, his voice weakened with age. In December 1891, he fell ill with pneumonia and was admitted to the seminary's infirmary. On December 19th, at the age of 78, Father Dowd passed away, leaving behind his legacy of compassion and fierce advocacy for Montreal's Irish community. After Father Patrick Dowd's death, his immense popularity was evident in the outpouring of grief from the community. Over 20,000 people filed past his remains to pay their respects. His funeral was held at Notre Dame Church, attended by 4 bishops and 200 priests. Unlike many of his impoverished parishioners who were sent to anatomy, Father Dowd was buried with honor in the crypt of the Grand Seminaire among his fellow Sulpician priests. Though the orphanage was demolished in 1904, the refuge he had championed continued its mission under the leadership of the Grey Nuns. In 1928, it was renamed the Father Dowd Memorial Home in recognition of his lasting contributions to the Irish community. For decades, the home continued to provide critical services, but time eventually took its toll on the building. By 1977, the refuge was deemed unsafe. Structurally unsound and unable to meet modern safety standards, it was abandoned after the pastor and the board of St. Patrick secured a new facility in Côte-de-Neige. Once the residents were relocated, the old building was boarded up, left to decay, and became a shadow of its former self. Situated close to the magnificent St. Patrick's Church, the derelict structure became a source of discomfort. Many described it as a haunted house, while others viewed it as an eyesore that stirred painful memories of hardship and loss. After years of complaints, the original St. Bridget's Refuge was demolished in 1979 and its footprint was converted into a parking lot, its foundation paved over with asphalt. Despite the loss of the original refuge, St. Patrick's Church continued to hold a place of significance for the community. On March 17, 1989, St. Patrick's Day, the church was elevated to the status of minor basilica by Pope John Paul II at the request of Paul Gregoire, Montreal's Cardinal Archbishop. Tragedy struck again on April 17, 1992, when a devastating fire broke out at the newer Father Dowd Memorial Home in Côte-de-Neige. A lit cigarette on the top floor ignited the blaze, claiming the lives of 5 elderly residents and leaving several others seriously injured. The fire marked another somber chapter in the history of the refuge that had once been a beacon of hope for so many. In 1997, St. Patrick's Basilica and the City of Montreal reached an agreement to transform the land where St. Bridget's Refuge once stood into an unofficial green space. The Power Corporation financed the landscaping, which showcased the foundations of the old refuge, while the City of Montreal provided benches, garbage cans, and annual maintenance. The small park became a welcome oasis amidst the dense buildings of downtown Montreal. It attracted local residents, parishioners, tourists, and office workers looking for a peaceful place to relax during lunch breaks. However, on April 30th, 2009, the City of Montreal informed St. Patrick's Basilica that it was canceling the 1997 agreement. The reasons behind the dispute between the two parties were unclear, but by May 15th, municipal workers halted the maintenance and surveillance of the area, dismantling and removing benches and garbage cans. In a letter, the Director of Public Works stated, "We are sure that the assistance granted by the city to make this place a pleasant place will have benefited the Fabrique St. Patrick and its faithful." Without the city's support, the green space began to deteriorate. Complaints about its condition increased, with neighbors reporting illegal occupation and nighttime activities. One local resident who frequently walked her dog there at night shared a story of a ghostly beggar who would approach people with a tin cup before disappearing into thin air. In response to a lawsuit over back taxes owed on its parking lot, St. Patrick's Basilica sold the St. Bridget's site. Despite having operated the parking lot tax-free for decades, the city argued that it was a business enterprise and not exempt from taxes. Warden Peter O'Brien explained that the sale would secure the financial future of the historic church, with the proceeds used to establish a foundation for the basilica. In May 2018, HEC purchased the land with plans to construct a $184 million pavilion on the former site of St. Bridget's Refuge. Local residents were upset by the development and launched a campaign to preserve the green space. Phil Chu, a nearby resident, expressed concerns, saying the ruins and the green space are not properly preserved in the HEC plan. Despite their efforts, the project moved forward and the land's transformation continued. The Hélène Desmarais building, HEC Montreal's new downtown campus, opened its doors in September 2023. Designed with a focus on sustainability and community integration, the building incorporates a commemorative element honoring the site's history as the location of St. Bridget's Refuge. As a spokesperson for the HEC explained, "We plan to retrace the foundations of St. Bridget's Refuge on the ground both inside and outside our building, and to use some of the stones from the existing foundations to partially rebuild the walls." This commitment has been realized, with workers integrating parts of the asylum's foundations into the new structure. The building stands out as an architectural and environmental achievement, meeting LEED Gold certification standards through innovative features like a geothermal system, green roofs, and the use of recycled materials. However, incorporating remnants of haunted sites into new structures has been known to stir up paranormal energy. Montreal's Duggan House serves as a cautionary tale. Built using dressed limestone from Simon McTavish's haunted castle after its demolition in 1861, the house became notorious for its own paranormal activity. Paranormal experts worry that the Hélène Desmarais building could face similar issues. Dominique Desormeaux of Haunted Montreal and 13 Spirits Paranormal warns, "The HEC is building on grounds that have been tainted with negative energy, heartbreak, death, and sickness. The site is haunted by all of that activity, and by building on top of the land, by digging and constructing, they will stir up that energy." Desormeaux predicts a range of paranormal phenomena, including apparitions, cold spots, and electrical disturbances, potentially unsettling students and staff alike. With its rich history, modern innovations, and eerie speculations, the Hélène Desmarais building is already a focal point of curiosity. Haunted Montreal is closely monitoring the campus for signs of paranormal activity as students begin their studies in this unique and storied place. Are you a Montreal resident or perhaps a tourist who has had a strange experience at the new HEC campus? If so, we would love to hear about it. As always, it's fascinating to hear your thoughts on what could be going on. Thank you so much for stopping by. If this is your first video, I do hope that you'll stick around for the next one. We post new videos in both French and English every second Saturday. If you'd like to learn more about the organization founded by the talented Donovan King, it's all listed in the description down below, along with links to purchase tickets to in-person haunted storytelling experiences. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll have a new video out for you in a couple weeks, but until then, stay spooky.